So it is great to be with you, Melissa. Where are you currently located?
Hi, Amy. It's great to be here. I am in the inner west of Sydney in Marrickville.
Awesome. How long have you been there for?
On and off, I've kind of lived in the inner west of Sydney for about 15 years.
Yeah, right, right.
I've kind of I always come back here, but I've kind of left the city and gone elsewhere and then come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have your studio at your home.
Yes, yes. I
Mhm.
have this kind of unusual house that has um, a kind of like a front room and a sunroom, and it has an outdoor kind of area, and that's where I do all my wet work. So I have a kind of a clean studio and a dirty studio.
Yeah, awesome. Do you like having your studio at home? I know there's like pros and cons of this.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I would like it to be separate, but if it was separate, because I work full time, I would never get here. Like I would never get to the studio, or I would like get there one day on the weekend or something. But this way, I actually have to walk through the room and my studio on my way to the rest of the house. And so in that, I get to say hello and I get to say goodbye and, check on the works that are in progress. And so it keeps me engaged. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually kind of practical.
Yeah, well, that's even like a higher level of engagement, even when you have to walk through it to like get to one part of the house to another. Because sometimes the studio's like in the back or in the back
Mm.
garden or in the back shed, but you actually have to go through it. So you go through it like every day then?
Yeah, yeah. And I often have like, because I get ready quite quick, I often sit in my studio and I'll do like 10 minutes of writing with a coffee. And so it's a good way to say hello, even though I can't spend any time in it, but it just kind of keeps me engaged.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, even if you can't, dive in and have the full day there, you've touched base with it. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I didn't
yeah.
know that about the setup of your home, because we worked together
Yeah,
for
it's
a
kind
number
of
of years. Yeah.
one of the weird they say it's like a 3 bedroom, but it's really only a 2 bedroom with a tag on kind of space. It's kind of the perfect scenario for a studio, really. um yeah, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And so, yeah, well, it's great to have you, coming from your studio. And I know a lot about your work because we worked together for a few years, and I'm sure people listening know you, but there's probably some new people. And so, can you tell us basically what you make?
Yeah. So I've been really looking at that deep. I mean, I've been practicing for a long time, but I've been looking at that a bit deeper and simple, like keeping a simple kind of round off. So just in a sentence, I would say I make textual work in response to my live environment. So my external and my internal world.
Mm,
So in that, I I use recycled cotton clothing and domestic cloth, and it gets broken down in a kind of a cutting and a tearing, and then a beater machine called a Hollander into like a pulp medium. And that medium also informs kind of what I make, because it's a highly process driven practice, and the act of being in the material, being in that kind of material kind of environment, and the physical act of making my work also helps me gauge the marks that I make in the work, if that
mm,
makes sense. But
mm.
I'm really attracted to visual texture in my environment. So, like going from my studio to work every day, I'm really attracted to the concrete, the light reflecting off buildings, how that changes from morning to afternoon. I also love the things that build up on those textures on the concrete, like the road markings, and how they decay over time. Recently, I've been a bit obsessed by arrows, like points, and, you know, turn the corner, go this direction. But the ones I'm photographing are decaying. And I'm at a time in my practice where I've just had a couple of shows and I've made work for that, but I'm kind of at a bit of a loss. So it's really interesting that I'm really attracted to these decaying arrows because it's like, I don't know what direction I'm going in. So yeah, they're my day-to-day things that I really am attracted to. But I guess the internal stuff is, it's kind of broad, but sometimes I like to make a series of work about a dream I've had. Like I had this reoccurring dream, and a body of work came out of that. Yeah.
And yeah, you explain that so well. You know, it's a complex thing that you do. Like there's sort of many arms to it in terms of like the process itself and your body interacting with that to the environment, exterior interior environment. So you explain that really fantastically well and in a beautiful way. And so, but how did you like get onto this? Because it's not a conventional thing. I don't think I've heard of anyone else doing this. You've brought other artists to my attention that work, you know, not exactly, but in a similar method, like more on an international context. But how did you find your way into this? Were you doing this from the very beginning of when you first started making art?
Yeah, well, when I did my undergrad, like a long time ago now, 25 years ago, you know, your first year, you do a bit of everything as a visual artist degree. And I ended up deciding on printmaking. And a component of printmaking is what they call paper making. And at that time, there was a technical assistant there who was totally into using this big mortar sprayer. At that stage, you had to like pick it up and put it on your shoulder, and it had compressed air to it, and putting recycled pulp material, which at that stage we were using natural fibers like hemp and red hot poker and things like that, and cotton material. And I guess from then I was like, oh, I think this is it. This is it. And they had these massive silk screens there, and I just started spraying the recycled material onto that. And I really liked the idea at that time. My nan had passed, and I liked the idea of using her linen sheets and transferring them and creating something out of them. You know, kind of embed my story with her story. So that's kind of how it started. And from then all my electives were just like self-driven. And so I just started doing this process and then just have continued on in very varied forms, but I always come back to the spraying pulp.
Yeah, what do you mean all your electives were self-driven? You could choose the
Yeah.
electives you
So
had?
by the time you get to third year, and I did a fourth year because I was only doing 3 units, not 4 units. And so there was electives and that you could do in different areas of the university. And I just decided to just name them. They let me have them to just have that as time to develop the pulp spraying process.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Also, do you know anyone else in Australia that works in a similar way?
Yeah, there wasn't many people at all for years and years and years, but the technician that I was talking about, is now the head doctor at Queensland College of Arts. And so he has taken that there, and there's other people now making large scale pulp works out of, not like I do, but there are people in Australia now that are doing it. Yeah.
Mm-mm. And you mentioned that you use the sheets of your nan in your work, and has it always been the case that the raw materials that you collect are from people you know, or recycled, or gifted, or how do you end up with these raw materials that you then transform?
Most of the things I've accumulated are from people that I know. Even if it's like that they're getting rid of their linen sheets for, its time, and often like the end of winter and end of spring, end of winter and end of summer, I seem to get an influx of sheets and clothing items. I often pulp down old clothes of my own. There is a time sometimes when, I'll have to put a call out if I'm not gifted them, and say, hey, has anybody got anything that they want to get rid of? Recently, I did a huge body of work that I needed a lot of black. And black t-shirts are the best way to get that. And I found this person online through, what site was it? Just kind of a little buying site, who had brought back all these t-shirts from America that he'd worn and didn't want anymore. And so, it's kind of nice that you get to meet this person, and they've got these shirts, and they tell you the whole story about their experience with them. So I didn't have a personal connection to him, but there was a story attached to the items.
And are they curious? Are they like, why do you want all these black t-shirts?
Yeah, they are often curious. And sometimes, like for that guy, he dropped them off to my studio. He was really nice, and he said, there's a lot of them. You sure you don't want me to drop them off? And I was like, oh, sure. And so he actually got to see some of the works that I made, and then it made sense to him. But yes, I think sometimes people are really kind of intrigued, and they give me the item, and they're like, maybe tell me what work it goes into, or something like that. I want to know.
Can you be that precise though, Melissa?
I can with some items, but sometimes they get mixed up, or sometimes I might prep them because I have to kind of tear out selvage edges and zippers and things like that. And sometimes I cluster things in colors.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, I imagine it would be. Yeah. And you've got two works behind you in your studio at the moment. Could you tell me a little bit about each of them?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Often when I'm a bit lost in my practice, I kind of go back to other works that I've made. And of late, I've been really drawn to a body of work that I made called Dark Matter. And so I was making this when I did my master's degree, and it was all about shadows, and also about the act of spraying. So the act of spraying pulp in the moment was how I made the marks. However, I wanted to put the spray gun down on the formed sheet that I'd already made was what was going to happen. And so it was a very in the moment, almost kind of like performative kind of act. So I've been wanting to revisit that, but those works were really massive, so on a really big scale. And I wanted this one here, I wanted to see how I could get that effect on a smaller scale. And the other work behind me is also kind of connected to a series that I was making about joining words. So like and I was looking at them as connecting words, but also kind of unpacking this idea of this dyslexia and how these words can be patterns, and I'm kind of applying the words in kind of a graffiti-like spray way, and at the moment I'm visiting pronouns, so that's why the we's up there.
Yeah, great. And I know on your website you got the big dark matter works there in a collection there that people could see. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I'd put them up because they're a strong and a deep body of work for me. So yeah, I don't think I really shared it a lot when I mean I had it on display, but it was interesting because I had it on display and that was it. That was the end. When I think it has a lot more gravity yet to be had.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny how we make and make and make, and then we show something, and it's like it's sort of done. I don't know, there can be this feeling like, well, that's done. I have to make something new, or it can't be shown again, or it can't be revisited. I have to keep moving forward. But like you've described here, revisiting things that were really important in a new, different way with the new sort of person that you are is really interesting. And there's these, like, you would have threads of ideas that sort of run through your work, I imagine, for years. Like, and you work across 2D, you work in sculpture too with your materials. We haven't talked a bit about that yet. And you did mention the performance-like work, or the spraying site-specific work too. And so what do you see as, like, whatever mode you're working in, what are the sort of the common threads that thread it together?
Yeah. I guess one is the medium and the process, and another would be about the visual texture, the visual element that occurs. And I would say my experience of the world is always in everything that I make, whether it's a performative spray across the wall, or if it's something that I recreate that I've seen on the street. It's all kind of informed by my my inner world, I guess.
Yeah, you have a real, you must know your medium and your process so well now. And it seems to me like you have a real flexibility with it. Like, you can go 2D, you can go 3D, you can go large, you can go small, site specific. Do you feel like, so what am I trying to say there, Amy? It's like can't put you in a box, And do you feel like that is, what are the advantages of that, like flexibility and breadth? And then maybe is there challenges too when you can move between them a lot? Yeah.
Yeah. I would say 2025 has been an understanding of how I split my practice. I had so many different little things going on that I think I lost sight of what my practice was. So sometimes that can be a disadvantage, like, and I do that sometimes because I have time limitations. So I put my hand in there and hand in there. And sometimes I get so distracted by a new way of process. So something comes to me, I haven't experienced that before, and then I'm off on that tangent, but yet I was still making this thing over here. And so I think 2026 is going to be more like, no, you're going to be more focused and you're going to stick with, one or two things. But I guess also if I think about it, once I won this prize, and it was a painting prize, and I was like, my works aren't painting, but they kind of are. They're spraying and painting with a different medium. They're not with acrylics, but they're with pulp. But I also fit into the printmaking section because it's a paper making kind of process. And sometimes I use stencils to make my imagery. So it can be it's sculptural. And then it's site specific, and it's I've only tapped a little bit into performative, and I wouldn't mind heading in that direction a little bit more. So yeah, you can, it's good that way, but it can also not be so great at the same time.
Yeah, like most things, hey, but it
Yeah.
does give you that range of
Mm,
opportunities,
mm,
like you just listed them then. Yeah, I was even
mm.
thinking about landscape. Your work could totally be in a landscape prize. Mm,
Mm,
mm, mm.
yeah, I've never thought of that before until recently, and I made a body of work called The Silent Pool, and it was about a specific place, but they also looked like if you were in a plane and you were looking down at them, that they could be like, views of a landscape, and I hadn't really thought of them like that before, but yes. Mm.
I think a lot of your work, now that I'm thinking of the different collections you have, would be landscape um,
Mm,
applicable, if that's the right word. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. You mentioned then that, you have a limited amount of time in the studio because you have, another job that you do alongside your arts job, your arts practice. Could you tell us a little bit about how you, set up sort of your week, so that you can make the most of your time in the studio? I'll just say a little bit on that because I work with a lot of artists, as you know, and some are full-time in the studio, some are not. And I'm always blown away by the focus that you have with the limited time you have, compared to others who might have all the time, and then the way that you can consistently make your work and develop it and maintain and keep building a high level practice, very active and consistent. So yeah, I just wanted to put that there. But how do you approach it? How do you make it work for you in your situation?
mm. Um, sometimes it's really difficult.
I reckon.
um, but I try to do little things. Like, I think that's sometimes why I have a couple of bodies of work on the go. So spraying these large scale paper structured works, I need like a whole day, sometimes 2 days. So I have to make sure that I've got that, and it's also weather dependent. So it needs to be not raining, not windy. So so I kind of have to factor that in. And as an artist, we have a lot of admin that we have to do. So I try to work the weather thing around that stuff as well.
Mm.
But say Sunday afternoon comes and I've got to go to work on Monday, a really good thing I do is no matter where I'm at, I write down a few things for the week that would help move on to the next stage when I get an opportunity to
Yeah.
make again. And it could be as simple as, Wednesday, go to the shops and pick up this after work. Or, like I really try to make a list. So when Friday comes around, I've got everything I need.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're picking up point. When especially when you have a few days off or a week off and you come back in, you can. I've spent a lot of time just like, where was I again? And not
Yeah.
picking things up, but you've got that list there and you've got the things that you need, and then get straight back into it.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I leave the work up or around that I made prior. And
Mhm.
so I can see it, so I can re-engage in it. Um, I mean, there has been moments where I haven't been able to get there the next weekend and I haven't written it down, and the moment's gone. You kind of lose that great idea that you had, and then by the time you actually can get there to do it, it's gone. That happens to me quite often, but you just kind of, I always try to come back where I finished off.
Do you mean the idea's gone, Melissa, from you, or the opportunity with the process has gone?
The idea might still be there, but the idea and the connection with it has kind of faded away, and so it just doesn't feel as relevant.
Yeah, it's like it needs to be like of the moment sometimes, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
done in the moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so imagine you have to be, yeah, well, flexible with the weather that you just described, but also um, inventive or, working within the time limitations. Do you feel like that is actually, whilst it could be a pain in the butt, sometimes you want much more time. Do you feel like it sort of made you shifted, like headed you into different ways of working than you would have if you had all the time in the world?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think it makes me just grab the time that I have. I don't know whether that experience with the like spraying on the work in the moment came from time restriction or just something that I could have come from that to start with, but then something that I really loved and I really felt a deep connection with the fact that my arm and my body was making the mark. And yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if that answers your question. Did it answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just wanted, it's great to talk about this because I've sort of had that inner battle with myself, doing jobs alongside my arts practice and most of the time not being full time and questioning myself, oh, am I really the real
Mm,
deal here or really committed? And I feel that I just become more settled in myself and how I want to run it and that it's always evolving and changing. And I think from working with people like you and others, I can see that it's just done in lots of different ways. And
mm,
so, and it can work. But I do know that you've done a number of residencies over the years, and I imagine that that is a great thing that you can like plan for, maybe plan a meaty project and really like uninterrupted time and space to do that. Yeah, well, is that the case? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah.
why did you initially seek them out?
Yeah. So for residencies, except for like the self-driven ones where I just like spend a week at home working on my own project, most of the residencies have been more experience or gaining knowledge that I have done. So it's pretty amazing that you get to spend a month working on something, but often it's also a little bit challenging because I'm learning something new. So it's not like I have been in, I haven't done a residency yet where it hasn't been about learning about something. Um, yeah,
Mm,
I think that might be the next thing that I do where I can sink myself into uh, a time with the skills that I have and work towards something solid. Um, but there's something about when you're learning a new skill, you go back to the beginning, and so it takes a while to. Sometimes you don't even feel like you're mastering it, but it takes you a while to feel confident in it or to be able to make it work, to create a body of work. But that's fun too.
mm. And
Mm.
you just at the start of what you said, then you sometimes have your own self-directed residency at home there. And so just so others can sort of get a handle on this, you take time off work, you get some leave from work, and you block out the week. And yeah, and how many times would you do that during the year, would you say?
I reckon a couple of times a year.
Mhm.
And it depends on if I've got a show too. If I've got an exhibition coming up, then it might be 2 weeks, and it might be just once a year, really,
Yeah.
you know, like that last push to get the work done. Yeah.
Mm. Great, great. And so the most recent residency you did was at the Morgan Conservatory in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. And like that's a really big deal residency. It's the biggest papermaking residency or facility in the States.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Who they do Western type paper making as well as Eastern. Mm.
And so firstly, how did you find out about it? Like, how did that get on your radar?
I've kind of known about it, but there's also another place that is in New York City that I've always wanted to go to, but they only take New York residents on as residents. And so in researching that, I discovered the Morgan Conservatorium, and they took international students. So yeah. So I guess it's word of mouth in the community and just research. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you approach this? They would have had an application
They
and
did.
a
They did.
project.
Every year they take on, I think they have one visiting resident artist a month,
Mhm.
and they're from all around the world. And so you have to put an application in. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's quite, I wouldn't say as rigorous as a grant application, but it's still, you know, you have to say what you're going to do there, why you want to go there, and how it would benefit your practice. And you know, you have to do your 10 images and, you know, bio and artist statement, all that stuff.
And you've done a lot of these things, over the years, so you're very sort of adept at it. But how do you approach it? Like you eyeball it, you think, yep, this looks like a good place to go. How do you start coming up with your project or a plan? Like, what's your process for that?
Well, that one was quite easy because they specialize in this thing that I wanted to learn, which was aqueous pigments in pulp material. It's a bit of a science, bit of a kind of chemistry orientated thing with pigments, and I often just use the color that the item is when I break it down, or use fiber reactive dyes if I wanted to make it super bright. So I wanted this other medium because I knew it would expand my practice a bit. And so it was quite easy for me to hone in on that project in particular. I've also done one at a different type of one at Queensland College of Arts, where I was invited to go there for a month to use the studio in exchange for the students to come and watch me and hear what I was doing. But in that, the lecturer there was one technique that I hadn't completely understood, and he was really good at it, and so he showed me that technique. So again, kind of driven by wanting to learn a new process.
Yeah, yeah, and have masterful people, technicians, and all the equipment and facilities to do that.
Yeah, my practice is a bit studio driven. Like, to get a residency, it is driven by the space, like the way it needs to be a wet space, because it needs to be wet space. It needs to, there's some things that I need to be able to enter into a space and make work.
And sometimes maybe outside looking in, artist residencies can look like they're like just exciting day after day, and it's just living the best life and and but there's like challenges and I just remember my first residency. I was all like, wow, this is amazing. And then I got there and I freaked out, Melissa, because it's just such a I was young at the time, but it's
Mm,
such a sensory sort of overload and social overload and cultural overload. And it took, I don't know about you, it took me a while to like really find my feet. And I actually was like, I want to go home. I had that feeling, and on a lot of them I did, and I sort of got more of an understanding. This is the process, Amy. This is just what happens, and then you're in it, and it has its ups and downs, and there's great stuff happens, and there's also challenges. But yeah, how about you? How's your approach, particularly this last residency that you did?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was so many things. It was all of those things. I mean, I spent a couple of weeks in New York City before I headed to, and that was amazing as far as, galleries and all that kind of stuff. So I was really hyped. But when I arrived, I get this text message saying that my host where I was staying got COVID. And so they had to shift me. And so I flew in, it was dark, and I got a cab to this place in an industrial area, in this massive kind of warehouse place that just had this one little door, and there was absolutely no one around. And
Who
I
was
had
it?
to just arrive and like knock on the door, and there was, it all works out in the end. They open it up, and then you're in this massive studio, and that's where I had to stay for a little while. But yeah, I mean, that was the beginning of the adventure.
Yeah, yeah.
um, and yeah, I mean, there's so many things, because you've got to get used to a new space, new equipment, um, different personalities. Yeah, the cultural thing, even though it was America, it was still, there was like, cultural things that were part of that process. But amazing, when you're in it, you're really there. You're really like, oh, I've got this. And then, the next day you could come and you don't really have it, and you're tired, and, you've got people coming and asking you lots of questions, and you feel really vulnerable, and you just want to go home.
I know. We're doing a great sales pitch for residencies, aren't we? But yeah, it's all the things, and it's just like it just seems like it's heightened because I mean, yeah, there's that tiredness even when you get off the plane. There's that jet lag. There's that finding your feet, and you feel a bit raw.
Mm,
And I also think because your people are often you're like a bit of a fish in a bit of a fishbowl, or you're working in a public space and people are watching what you're doing. You, as you said, you're learning a new thing, and like there can be eyeballs on you. And so I think it really um, uh, makes it has made me think that the sort of stronger or more protective or contained you are of not your exact path, because a residency is to open up opportunities, but you really like maybe put a little bit of some blinders on to it's really helpful. Like it doesn't matter if I screw up a million times, this is my residency, this is
mm,
the residency that you want to make. I think we talked about that previously. Mm,
mm. I
mm.
actually remember why I was there, Amy, and I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm learning a new process, but I don't know what I'm making about. And so I think I even emailed you, and we actually had a Zoom, I think, because I said, Amy, I need some writing tools. You need to send me some questions because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, I've totally felt that too. Like, what is this? This seems a bit pointless, like the things I've been doing for the last few weeks. And um, yeah, it's just not the normal way we work. And so
Mm,
But are you open to doing more? Like it all has to line up for you. You know, you're talking about the wet space,
Yeah,
etc.
I have. Well, actually, you say that. I have one that I want to do, and it's in Japan, and it's at this major kind of paper making studio. And there's been other artists that have gone there from one recently I connected online from Denmark, and she goes there every year, and she does like pulp painting, large scale pulp painting works. And I've always wanted to go to this residency, but I wasn't sure what it would be like. And so I got in touch with her, and she says it's amazing. So I think that might be 2027 for me.
Mm, awesome. Yeah. And
That one's quite different too, in a sense. You have to put an application in, but you pay for it. And it's not that expensive,
yeah,
but different process. As the one that I just did in America, I got a stipend, so I was paid to go. Yeah.
yeah, great. Yeah, they come in all different shapes and sizes, don't they?
Mm.
You know, some you pay, but it's quite minimal, and then some you can pay like through the roof to use
Mm.
them, and some have a stipend. Sometimes you can get funding to support them as well.
Yeah, I did think that I might try funding for this one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me just check. I had my questions, but I actually haven't looked at them because I've just been in the flow. It's been great. But I want to make sure there's not key topics here because that I miss. So yeah, you've mentioned the role of writing in your practice, you know, that you called me up and wanted some to um help you in the recent
Mm.
residency. But have you always written? Has it been a
Mm.
part of your practice constantly?
Well, strangely, I mean, I did an undergrad and I did a master's, and my master's was in research, so I had to write a paper. Um, and I really struggled with that paper. It was a wrestle game the whole way through. And your free writing process, Amy, would have been so handy when I was doing that master's. So I've
Yeah.
come to this type of writing later. I mean, I've always had bios and artist statements because I've been practicing for a long time. But I do 10 minutes every morning now of the free writing. And, it's not always about art practice. It can be about my like my inner world process.
Mm.
But I think it has become more relevant in my practice, even though it might not be directly related to the work I'm making right now. It definitely has expanded, yeah, my mind. And also it's like it has the reason I said it would have been nice to have it before my master's was I was so with the writing in my master's, and it would have been nice to be freer with it to start off with, and I think I would have got a better end result. And I think that's what I really like about this process is it has allowed me not to be so particular or so conscious, subconscious, not subconscious, but like you know, like embarrassed almost about the writing. The free writing has allowed me to let that go.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's how we first met, maybe one of the Fresh Eyes a few
Mm.
years ago.
Mm.
Yeah, and so yeah, anyone listening, we're talking about flow writing, stream of consciousness writing, where you write to a prompt, um, quite in a speedily way, for a specific period of time, and the idea is to, stop the critical mind shutting things down early. And yeah, I wish I had it too,
Mm.
when I was doing my studies, because writing was a real hard
Mm.
thing, and I would get so frustrated.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, we're going to say something then?
Yeah, I just think it would have been less academic speak that would have been in it would have made my master's process a bit more specialized to me than what it was, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'm reading this book. Oh, I think I told you about this book I'm reading. I'm just telling everyone because it's really great. How to Write Clearly by
Oh, yes.
Tom Albrighton. And I was just reading a bit last night and I'm thinking it's a perfect thing to come after you've done all the flow writing and you've started writing out a draft and it's really awful and it's rough. And then to move into this because it's got all these really clear systems, is like what things to put first and just how to make it really clear. And I was just, as I was reading, I think, oh my God, all my past writing has not been so clear. So it's a great resource, but you need to start with like, yeah, going wide, going into things you're not ever going to use. You just need to give yourself that freedom to express yourself and get words down and put things down you didn't even think were there. And then you can like whip it into shape. Yeah, yeah. And you have I think it might, yeah, you might not be doing it at the moment. You might be on a bit of a hiatus, but you had a writing partnership that went for quite a while with some other artists in the program.
Yeah, that we met. Yeah. So Rosemary and Amanda. Rosemary's having a little break.
Yeah, hi Rosemary, if you're watching.
Yeah. I saw her recently in Sydney, so that was great. But yes, she's not. But Amanda and I are still meeting. And we've decided to pick up the making exceptional work format and running with it a bit more, because we're both at a stage where we've finished something and we want to move into something else. So we're just trying to get that together right now.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, we've been, I mean, of course, life gets in the way, but we generally meet every Friday morning and write for 15 minutes.
Excellent. Yeah, and just hit a thought hit my head. I did a in conversation with Amanda. This is Amanda Gardner on an at-home residency that she created. So there's a bit of crossover here. So go and watch that too, people, after you've finished this. And so sort of coming to the end of our conversation, although it's been great chatting and we could go for a long time. I think there are other people, me included, in a situation at the moment where more of my time at the moment is going towards mentoring and the daring artist, and less is in the studio. You did mention a thing before about keeping the momentum going by, just basically having a list and your starting point, where you ended and your starting point. But are there other things that you can think to keep that momentum going, keep that freshness going? Well, actually, you've already said you write every day, you move through the studio every day. Is there anything else that you do or can think of?
I think because my practice is about texture, that it's easy for me to commute to work and be engaged and be present with what's in my environment and think about that creativity. But I also, I guess, as a practical thing, I love using the microphone on notes on my phone. So if I have an idea, I just like talk that into my notes, so I keep track of that. Sometimes I dedicate one night a week where it's about admin, writing, things like that. Yeah, a list of prizes, like what prizes are out there. I have like a Excel spreadsheet I keep adding to just in case I want to enter one of those. I guess one thing I find that I'm really good at is I have a couple of different works going. So I might have something in my journal, which is something I can tap into on a weeknight for like an hour. Or lately I've been making these sculpty objects because I've got a vision for a bigger work, like maybe even a community commission or something like that. So I've been making these sculpty works, which is something that I can do in a spare half an hour.
Mm, mm.
So I do things like that, so I keep engaged, if that.
Yeah, it sounds really engaged. Yeah, yeah. Um, and how can people buy your work?
Mm. Uh,
Yeah.
they
I've got a
can,
piece. I've got a
yes,
piece.
you
I
do.
love it. I got it beautifully framed, and you've got beautiful work. So how can people get in touch and purchase a work?
Yeah, so you can either do me on my Instagram. On my Instagram, you can go to my website and you can get in touch with me. And also on my website, there's work that you can look at. But it's on kind of application. So if you like something, just get in touch with me and I can then send you works that are available.
Yeah, that's how I did it. So, Melissa, I think you had some beautiful works. This is a few years ago now on your Instagram, and I said, "Oh, I love this work, Melissa." And then you sent me, well, you said, "Amy, I've got a few in that range," and you just sent me the breakdown, pictures of them all, and then all the details. And you even, I think, did a video because I was really interested in the back because the back is this different feel than the front, and Melissa took a video for me to see it, which was really great. So what is your Instagram and what is your website? Can you let us know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's Melissa, Melissa underscore J underscore Harvey, Harvey. And my website's Melissa Harvey at .com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll
Yeah.
definitely put them in the show notes below with the links. And what have you got any events on the horizon? Or are you taking a little bit of time to
Yeah,
go deep?
I'm really having a little bit of time to delve into these works that I'm making behind me, and I'm really I'm going to spend summer because summer's the best time for making because it's a wet process. So winter making in winter is very cold and not as fun. So I think I'm just going to spend the next couple of months really sinking into that and then having a really defined body of work to move forward with. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Melissa. It's been
Uh,
great. There's so many really important areas that you are involved in that we discussed. And so, yeah, please check out Melissa's Instagram and you see something you like on there, you get in touch with her. And I want to get another piece. Actually, we should probably discuss this now, but Melissa had a beautiful body of work. Was it at the print gallery in Melbourne?
at the PCA gallery. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
What was
Print
that body
Council
of work
gallery.
called? What did you call that body?
That was Fold. It was called Fold and Vessel. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Check that out, people,
That's
because
also on some of it's on Instagram. Yes. And I will be putting more of that up. Yeah.
yeah, it's we'll have our different favorites, but that's been one of my favorites in the last little while for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Right. Well, when am I going to see you next? Online.
Yes.
Well, we'll
Yes.
make it
Online.
happen. Yeah.
Well, I guess we've got our one-on-ones.
Yep, we've got our one-on-ones. Yep. And
Yes.
then I hope you can join Fresh Eyes in the new year.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to do another round of the 2 weeks fresh eyes?
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Awesome.
I gave it a rest in September, and I think I'll do it. It's always good at the start of the year. I love
Yeah.
time, so
Yeah.
be good to see you there. And yeah, well, have a great day there, and thanks so much again for your time. And check out Melissa's work, everyone, and follow her. And we'll see you
Mm.
soon.
Well, thanks for having me on, Amy.
Awesome. See you soon.
Bye.
Stay there. I'll hit stop there. That was so good.